right. You know it's Friday when it's Building Wins Live time. 3 o'clock Friday, and we're back with another great edition today of Building Wins Live. I'm so excited to have my friend Marvin Montgomery, the sales doctor. He and I met several years ago. I've watched him speak live at a couple events. The guy's energetic. He's a sales guru. You're going to love this guy. And he's got more gray hair than I have, which I really like, which we both have more gray hair than my buddy, my pal, my director, my producer, Wes Wyatt has, because he has more gray hair on his face than I think Marvin and I have on our head. But anyways, I always say that because you don't know this, but I can see Wes in the background throwing stuff at the screen. So thanks, Wes. Yeah, okay, I see you. Yeah, you do that too. Anyway, we're going to be right back in a minute, and you are going to be Marvinized. Be ready. Back in about 15 seconds. Don't go away. The doctor is in the house.
Randy, how are you?
Can you believe this? I'm doing awesome. And yourself?
I'm doing excellent. I'm doing excellent. My new saying, Randy, is alive and grateful.
Alive, I like that. Alive and grateful. Yes, indeed. It's just great to be here another day. You know.
Yes, sir.
Especially the more gray hairs I get, the more I realize that I'm glad to get another day.
Well, the only bad part about the virtual world now, you look at yourself and you go, oh my God, where'd that gray come from? Opposed to being a live audience, you can't see yourself, you know?
Exactly. As I was telling you off camera before we started the show, I notice it the most when I go to the barber shop. And I said, will you get some white smocks instead of black?
Because right. It really shows up against the black, doesn't it?
It does. And I'm going, this is not good. I think that's what happened with Wes, too, but I'm going to quit picking on him because unfortunately, he has the technical ability to, like, give me the hook anytime, so I got to kind of be nice.
That's right. He can cut us off, mute us, shut us down.
Yes, or put some really stupid hashtag up there that I don't want. But anyway, but Marvin, thank you. I've been looking forward to this for weeks since you were so gracious to agree to be on, so thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So, you know, before we get started, I'll tell people where we met and all that kind of stuff in a minute, but who in the world is Marvin Montgomery? Give us a little backstory here.
Well, I have a lovely wife, Joanne, who actually has her own business. She's an entrepreneur too, and we've been blessed to have a blended family of 6 children. The last one at home is getting ready to leave the nest possibly next year. He's 19 years old, and he's become an entrepreneur too. He's got a sneaker business, and I'm actually celebrating 31 years of helping people make sure they're not practicing on their customer. So that's a little bit about me, and I don't think we have in the time we have to go through those 31 years. But I'll tell you right now, living life, having fun, and really enjoying what I'm doing. For the people that still want me to come out and like you say, get them Marvinized.
There you go. Get them Marvinized. So you're in the Cleveland area, greater Cleveland area, or city of, or somewhere in that part of the world?
Yeah, my office is actually in Bedford Heights. I don't spend much time there as much as I used to. I do a lot of work from home.
Gotcha. So, Marvin, we first met, I don't know how many years ago now, but it was at the BFBA, the Buckeye Frame Builders Association meeting, and for all the pole barn folks out there, that's the Ohio branch or association of the National Frame Builders Association, and you were in and gave a speech, and I remember many a time, and this is a compliment, Marvin, so don't worry where I'm going with this. Many a time at these things, and I probably shouldn't admit this on air, but I'm just dumb enough to do this. A lot of times when I'm at things like events like this, I will get up and go out in the lobby because my phone's driving me nuts, because I know there's customers that need me to call them, and there's stuff to do, right? And I remember the second you walked up and started talking, you had me hooked, man. Your personality, your excitement, I was starting to get up, and I remember sitting back down going, okay, I gotta listen to this dude for a minute. So,
well, Randy, you just reminded me of something. I got to share this real quick. So I'm speaking for a large association out of town somewhere, and there was a young lady that came in late, to my talk, and she sat down, And then afterwards, I found out from somebody there, she actually came into the wrong ballroom. And she liked what I was saying so much, she stayed.
No kidding. Wow. Wow. That's awesome. That's
And she was
awesome.
at the wrong ballroom, wrong meeting, wrong association. But she enjoyed what I said so much, she stayed. Actually, that's where that tagline, motivation and substance, come from. Because, Randy, you're right. There's a lot of speakers out there that will motivate you but have no substance. Or have substance, but you can't stay awake long enough because there's no excitement and motivation that goes along with it. But I've been gifted to really have both. That's why I say motivation and substance. And that's with my motivational speaking as well as my training
Yeah.
that I
Awesome.
conduct.
Well, it works because, like I said, and probably I'm going to guess, but when you speak to sales guys and girls, I use guys interchangeably because I'm old, so I can get away with that, I think, yeah. But sales folks, let's go that way. We're probably the toughest audience to speak to at times, I'm sure, because we're off into 17 different directions all at the same time, right? And so it's probably tougher to grab us quick, I would imagine, than maybe another type of audience. Am I right or wrong on that?
You're absolutely right, Randy. It's the old adage: you have anywhere between 1 to 3 seconds, to really get the person across from you on the phone engaged. And again, I have that gift to be able to do that. And you're right; it's even more challenging with salespeople because a lot of times I'm in front of people who think they know it all. And the best compliments I get once I get through with a talk or a training, that someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, I've been doing this for 20 years or 25 years or 30 years. Thought I knew it all, but I'll tell you what, I really feel I walked away with something from your talk here today." As a matter of fact, sometimes they'll say, "I really got Marvinized today." So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's the best compliment that I can ever get, especially coming from salespeople. So you're spot on with that, Randy.
Yeah, exactly. So let's drill down a little bit on the world of sales. And the first question, I guess, and because it's been on all of our minds for the last couple of years now, is it on the outside, it seems to have changed some, right? Because of the whole pandemic, lockdown, whatever we want to call it, and how we want to refer to it, the inability to travel for a while at all, and then we seem to be back able to do that now, and hopefully that lasts. But there was an old, and there was a new, and then there's a kind of a hybrid in between, and how do you see that progressing? I mean, because that had to be for you. You couldn't go do live speeches for probably 10, 12 months at least.
Right.
I couldn't go see customers. So we all had to adjust and make changes. And how do you, I guess, from your business, but also maybe from a salespeople's perspective, let's talk about the changes and what happened and what we learned and where we go from there.
Well, I've actually looked at it as the whole situation as an opportunity. I know it's caused me to upgrade and pull in a lot more virtual opportunities all across the country, whereas before I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. I don't think we're ever going to go back to 100% classroom because people like hybrid, where you can do some classroom and some virtual. So overall, I think it's been a good thing. But I think everybody like me, we were all shut down for a while, Randy. There was nothing happening. Conferences were canceled. People stopped having people come in. Everybody working from home. So there was probably a 6 to 8 month period where things were kind of silent, and then it started picking up again with virtual. And now I'm still probably 70%, 67% virtual. And the rest being in classroom, more so locally. I got a lot of local clients because that's kind of where my bread and butter is when I first started. But I do have several clients out of state that I do weekly, monthly, ongoing virtual programs with. So that's been great for me.
Okay, so it really, and I've talked about this with several people that I've chatted with, and I think the adaptation is probably one of the biggest things that came out of this last 15, 18 months, whatever it's been now, right, is not only the adaptation that we made, because 15 months ago, I wouldn't be doing a show like this. I wouldn't have been guesting on other people's shows. I wouldn't be posting as much as I do on social media. I wouldn't be doing 5, 6, 7 Zoom meetings a day, right? And so, like you just hit on, I think it's a good point. Is we learn to adapt, and we found that we can't go all the way back to just the road warrior. I use a little hashtag road warrior Randy because that's what I've been. I've been a road warrior my whole life. I love it, but I also found, and I think that's what you're saying, is you can augment all that, right, with other ways that put you in front of more people. It becomes a force multiplier, right? You can just do
Absolutely.
more in a day, a week, a month.
Absolutely, because I'm like you, Randy. I may do 2, 3, 4 virtual trainings because the virtual trainings or coaching I do, it's no longer than 45 minutes or an hour. And so that's the beauty of this. And another thing I've always told people over the years, you don't want to go more than an hour, 90 minutes, or 2 hours if you're doing any kind of training anyhow, because you can only absorb so much. So this has really been an opportunity for us to rethink how we learn, not just sales training, but any type of training.
Right, right. Well, and I think it's a great opportunity from a sales guy's perspective, rather than just that phone call for that first conversation or that first 2 or 3 conversations with a potential new client, right? In the past, you jump in a car and drive 12 hours or go through 3 airports in a rental car and spend 2.5 days and $2,000 to do what you can do literally on a Zoom call like this to get the basics, right? To get the start. Because and the beauty I find in it is you still got to go do that. The in-person is still super important, especially in my industry. But boy, you can literally get off of this Zoom call, for example, and be on one more 29 minutes from now, right? And never leave your house. You just got to remember to put pants on. That's the important part.
Yeah, the term I use when I'm doing training, I say when you're talking to, and I refer to them as suspects, not prospects. So when you're talking to that suspect initially, I would say to them, hey, Randy, let's do this. Let's schedule a virtual exploration meeting to determine whether or not there's even going to be a need for us to meet face to face. So people are a lot more open, to meeting virtually to explore whether or not the services or products that I had, can be a value to you. So it you know what? It's that old thing. You can look at it as a negative or you can look at it as a positive. And I've been trying to get all my relationship to look at it as a positive opportunity.
Exactly.
Both on the personal side and professional side, because we've been using a lot more for family gatherings,
Sure.
Zooms on Sundays. And so it's not just for work. That's just kind of where things are going.
Yeah, it is. And you can like it or not like it, but it is what it is, right? And you have to, there's certain things you have to accept. A good buddy of mine, a sales pro himself, Barry Broxman, just dropped in a comment here. And what's Barry have to say? So much truth to this, Marvin. And I think what he's saying is that if you're not learning something new every day, you're falling behind, right?
Right. Yeah, Barry's right on target with that.
Yeah, yeah. And Barry also has about the same amount of hair that Wes does. I don't know why I'm on that today. It's just amazingly funny to me today. So maybe I sent a text out. Maybe I sent a social media thing that I didn't think I did. Maybe I posted only Marvin and I get to have hair. Anybody else, no hair allowed. I think that was right. Maybe I should, Wes, if you're listening, which I know you are, maybe we should check my social media today. Maybe I just told everybody that. I don't know. But I think Barry's 100% right. There's no theory to it. Same line kind of thing is even if you're on the right track and you don't move, sooner or later you're going to get run over, right? Because things change. And then I want to see what your thoughts are on this, because in today's world, it seems like, and it sounds like, when I say stuff sometimes. You ever do this, Marvin, where you start saying things and it sounds like stuff your dad said, and you're going, crap, I'm getting old. Because that's stuff that old people said, right? And now I seem to be one of them. But it's faster. It's so much faster now, the change, than it used to be, right? It used to be things change over seasons or years or way back decades maybe, right? And now they change literally. You take a weekend off and something's different, right? It's a much faster pace now.
Exactly. I remember using the term one of my first virtual calls. You talked about getting old. My first virtual call, I said to the audience, "Wow, this is like Hollywood Squares."
Hmm.
And they're all looking at me like, "Hollywood Squares? What the heck is Hollywood Squares?"
I, I exactly. I remember that very much, and it's funny. You do have to remember your audience, right?
Right.
Because I will bring up little one-liners or little zingers, and I realize I'm talking to a bunch of 20 and 30-year-old guys and girls. And I'm going, okay, you guys didn't follow any of that,
Not at
did you?
all.
That's good. So the let's go back to when because I do like to get a feel for this because I really enjoy a lot of what I like to talk about is as you see on my little moniker that I developed for myself way back when it was Randy 2.5 Hybrid Amazing, and just because I believe in hybrids, and you brought that word up, and I love the whole concept of hybrids because I think everything's hybrid. There's few things that are black and white. I mean, there are some things in life black and white. You know, hurting a woman or a kid's pretty black and white. You know, that's But I mean, in the world of business, in the world of sales, most things fall into that hybrid gray area, right? And it's how do you adapt? And so you talked about that a little bit, or quite a bit actually. But did you? It's always interesting in people's mindset when this whole shutdown happened because our buddy Barry that's on here listening right now, he and I was together in Tulsa the day that I got on an airplane and realized that my life's changing, and because of this, because remember as we talked about when I left when I got on the airplane to go home, that was 11 out of 12 weeks that I was on an airplane and hotels and rental cars 4 or 5 nights a week, nonstop. That's my life, and I enjoyed it, and I know Barry does, and I know anybody else, the people that do this. We went to this meeting, and I got on the plane and I go, my life just changed. And I'll be honest with you, it scared the hell out of me because I didn't know what I was going to do about that. And
Right.
so fast forwarding, as you had mentioned, I figured out a whole lot of stuff that makes my life a whole lot better, to be honest. I would have rather figured that out a different way than going through what we went through. But was there one of those aha moments for you when you all of a sudden go, oh man, I don't know what I'm going to do now?
Yeah, it actually came, Randy. I always say directly, indirectly. And what I mean by that is the first probably 7 to 10 opportunities that I had to speak and train, and a lot of that was with a lot of my original customers that had me come back and do ongoing stuff or orientation stuff, was Marvin, could you come in and talk about attitude? Marvin, could you come in and do you have anything that can be uplifting and motivating? My people are really down about what's going on. So, because everybody knows that when I'm doing my sales training, the first topic I always talk about is the power of attitude. I just wrote a motivational tip, Randy, that says, let me see if I can recall it. And it basically says, attitude can't be taught, but it can be caught. That was the title of the tip. Attitude can't be caught. Can't be taught, but it can be caught. So I always tell people one of the things I can't train. I can give you all the techniques about sales, but one thing I can't give you is attitude. So I talk about 7 things that you need to do to maintain and sustain a positive attitude, and it really came in handy during especially those first 6 to 8 months. People were in the stupor. People were really down. People were depressed. They didn't know what to do. What do I do? And I had so many people request that talk and afterwards saying, hey, Marvin, thank you so much. That really helped me get out of that little depression, that little pity party that I was having. So, and it also helped me because every time I would talk about the power of attitude and how attitude is everything, it reinforced to me the importance of maintaining and sustaining a positive attitude during this time. Because when you're not letting these things get to you, that means you're staying open to be able to think and meditate and in some cases pray and come up with solutions that can help you move forward. Because Randy, if and you said it earlier, You're either moving forward or you're standing still, getting left behind. And I'll tell you, a lot of people who let their attitude wane and become negative, they got left behind.
Yep. Yeah. So in like with any tough situation, there's winners and losers, right? To use a lack of a better term. And if you take a stock market, you take anything, and if the stock market's diving, that sounds bad, right? And generally speaking, is not good. But a lot of winners come out of that too, right? Because
Right.
it's the attitude, and am I going to let this beat me, or am I going to figure out what I need to do to take advantage of whatever it is, because I can't control what it is. That was an uncontrollable for any of us individually, right? To a large part, we don't like to always admit it, but still today, a lot of things are uncontrollable by us individually. But what you just hit on, and I think it's brilliant, and we have to remember it, Marvin, is we can't control the attitude, right? And we can control how we think about it.
Right. One of the things, I love what Chuck Swindoll says. He says, it's not what happens to you. It's really what happens inside of you when that situation happens. So when the pandemic hit, it's not the pandemic, it's what you're going to do with this situation. Are you going to sit there and let it take over? Or are you going to, rise above that situation and manage it? Because if you don't manage these things, then they will manage you. And doctors will tell you a lot of illnesses that we end up having are also more so stress related.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's mental or physical, it's all related to something that we weren't able to handle. We weren't able to get over. We weren't able to put behind us. And this pandemic really put people in a tizzy.
That's an old school word, tizzy.
I remember there's probably people going, tizzy? What's that? What's a tizzy? Look, hey, Randy, somebody's Googling that right now.
They are. Listen, is that one Z or two? That's two Z's, folks, just in case.
Or is that I-E or Y?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So the sales doctor, what in today's environment, we're coming back and seeing some more normalcy, learned what we learned. Give me the Marvin Montgomery 458, whatever. What do we need to do to be a really, really good salesman? I know that's an on the spot thing, but what's it take to be good? Just, I know all my products and I can recite all these specs and all that stuff. Yeah, that's that bit of it, right?
Well, my email signature used to say years ago, because I saw this quote somewhere, I liked it. I just put it at the bottom of my email signature. It said, selling is what you do for people, not what you do to people. And so my goal has always been to change the image, that negative image that people have of salespeople. And I've been doing it over the last 31 years, one salesperson at a time, one training session at a time, one coaching, one speaking engagement. And my message is always the same. You want to be a trusted advisor, because we've all heard that expression, people buy from people who they what? Know, like, and trust. Well, how do you do that? Because you only have seconds to begin changing that negative image that they have of us. And I'm in there. I'm part of that group, because I'm calling on people too. So what I've learned is, if you can get people to do two things, and these two things, Randy, are difficult to do, but they work at home. I share with people all the time. Selling is not telling and talking. True selling, to establish that relationship, if you want repeat business, if you want referrals, if you want that person to come back and request you, you have to do these two things, and you have to do them throughout the whole conversation. And it's asking questions and active listening. That's it. Active listening and asking questions. I use the example of carpentry. In carpentry, they call it measure twice, cut once. Measure twice, cut once. So one of my first questions I ask of salespeople, the last conversation you had, whether it was sales related or with your significant other, were you asking questions and actively listening, or are you telling and talking? Because the mentality sometimes is we like to fix stuff. And when you want to fix something from a communication standpoint, you start running your mouth. You interrupt people. They can't get they can't even finish their sentence because you've already cut them off, and you want to come back with what you think the solution is. Well, a lot of times we don't have all the information that we need to start talking. So I get people to understand the fact of you should be asking yourself this internal question: what information do I need to know to provide a customized solution? And the customized solution is either yes, I can help you, or not now, I can't help you. So let's revisit this again at a different time. But it's tough for people to do. They want to go in and go and take a deep breath, and I refer to it as information dumping. Show up and throw up. You take a deep breath and it becomes a memorized scripted presentation. That's not why you're there. That's why they don't like salespeople. Who wants to be told what to do and talked into it? And that particular approach is for home and at work. As I tell people all the time, Randy, people equate not listening and asking to not caring.
Right.
I mean, that's how you don't care. What's that old expression? I think Maya Angelou. People care less how much you know until they know how much you care. That person needs to know I care about them and what they're trying to accomplish. I care about you. I care about your business. I care about your issues. I care about your concerns. I care about your pain. Share it with me. Tell me all about it. And then I can determine whether or not I've got a solution for you. I'm working with a company right now, and I said, stop providing quotes, stop providing proposals, and start providing solutions. It's actually an HVAC company. So I said, change the top of that document. It should say not HVAC proposal. It should say HVAC solution.
Love it.
Because it lets that person know that I'm here for you. I want to provide a solution to the things you shared with me when we talked. So, Sam Frank, I grew up in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Sam Frank would always say those three things. You may have heard this, Rain. This is old school, too. He say, you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them what you told them. So I took that whole philosophy and I said, when you sit down with this person initially, provide either a written or verbal agenda. So all I'm going to say is, hey, Randy, thanks for this time today. Let me share with you what I'd like to accomplish over the next few minutes with you. First and foremost, I'd like to find out how come you're thinking about doing some training for your people. And then I'm shutting up. Yep. I'm shutting up. That's my opening statement. How come you're looking at doing some training for your people? And you may come back and say, well, Marvin, right now, our close rate really sucks. But I'm not going to stop with my questions there. Well, tell me more about your close rate not being where you want to be. How's that affecting you, Randy? Because now I want to find out what the pain points are. Right. Because I get people to understand there's a difference between problem and pain. And a lot of salespeople, they'll identify the problems, but they don't drill down and surface the real live pain that the person's going through. And that's where that follow-up question is asked, how's that affecting you financially? How's it affecting you, your team? How's it affecting your operation? How's that affecting you personally? I want to get those pains. And so then at the end of the meeting, now I got something to talk about. Hey, Randy, during this meeting, it's been a pleasure. You identified 6 specific areas that I know my training is going to provide a solution in. And I'm going to review those 6 with you. Then I may end with, hey, Randy, was there anything else you wanted to add to that? Yeah, can I add a 7th one? Oh, sure, Randy, go ahead. And then I send an email or text back to you and say, hey, Randy, thanks for your time today. It was a pleasure meeting with you. I'm looking forward to bringing that training solution that's going to take care of those 7 things. And I'm reminding you again that I was paying attention. Here's those 7 things. And then when I meet with you to go over the solution, then I'm going to go, hey, thanks for meeting with me again, Randy, to go over this solution. Those 7 things you talked about, boom, 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 boom. Here's the training program that we're going to implement that's going to take care of that. So you just keep bringing back up how I'm going to what? Man, this is how I'm going to help you. This is how I'm going to help you. This is how I'm going to help you. So turn those proposals and quotes into solutions. And you're also going to increase your close rate. You're going to show that person that you care. I've had people that never have used my training, but they refer me because I use the same approach myself. Remember, people buy from people who they know, like, and trust. Now, you may not buy from you, but I built the know, like, and trust. So you're going to refer me, or you may circle back around later and use me. So it's all about building that trust, because that's what's going to get you where you want to be with anybody.
Wow, that's the fire right there, as my buddy, as our friend Wes. We need the fire.
Thanks, Wes.
We almost need to set this up on the field with a tent. We need a good old fashioned tent out there and bring in some salespeople and talk, Marvin. Let's do this thing. Now, and a big thing you just hit on, I mean, I just love that, is you just said, I think this is what you said, you allowed, by asking questions and then shut up, you allowed, which is hard for us sales guys to do, but allowed the customer to tell you how to sell them, right? Because you don't have to figure it out, because they're going to tell you if you just shut up, right?
Yeah. There's an old adage, Randy, if you ask and listen, the customer will tell you exactly how they want to be sold.
Exactly.
They'll tell you.
Listen.
They'll tell you everything.
Yep. And it goes along that old theory we've all heard in the past. We've been doing this a long time, as you and I have, is about shutting up. Is don't buy the order back either, right? So many sales guys, they talk to a point that I'm going to give you this order, Marvin. I want you to come train for me. And then if you run your mouth too much, you bring up something, right, that makes me start second guessing.
That's right.
Am I not correct?
That's right. That's that old expression. People will talk themselves right out of the sale. I've seen it happen. I mean, I've witnessed it, because I do what I refer to as sales call ride-alongs, or I'll sit down with somebody while they're on the phone, and their sales call observations and evaluations, and I can customize my training, either coaching or overall. But yeah, so many people talk themselves right out of an opportunity. Right. I mean, they had it right in their hand. There's another old expression that I heard years ago. A wise person said nothing. A wise person said nothing. Good salespeople are wise salespeople. They know their job is not to sit there and do a lot of talking. Their job is to ask questions and listen, and actively listen to what's being said. And if you do that, they will give you the direction you need to determine even whether or not you can help them right now. That's why I said it's either a yes or not now. It's never no. It's either yes, let's move forward. Well, you know what? Based on what you shared with me today, it looks like we're not in a position to really assist you at this given point in time. But hey, let's schedule a time down the road where we can revisit this again. So yes or not now, I'm okay with that.
Yes or not now. I like to make note. Yes or not now. That's
yes
awesome,
or not
dude.
now. It's either yes or not now. Yeah. That's why I said they start off as a suspect. And the reason why I use the word suspect, Randy, I remember I'm old school. You watch those old detective movies. That's why I like the Turner Network, and you got the two detectives, one sitting, one standing. And they say, "Hey, round up all the usual suspects," and then they say, "What? Bring them in for what? Questioning." They don't say bring them in and jail them. They don't say bring them in and put them in the electric chair. They say bring them in. We have to ask some questions to find out if they're guilty or not. Well, we need to do the same thing with we put the cart before the horse. We call them prospects already. They're not a prospect. They're a suspect. The way they answer the questions will determine whether or not they turn into a prospect that you put a solution together for, and then hopefully they turn into a customer relationship. So many people, Randy, are putting quotes and proposals together for suspects. It's going nowhere.
Right. Marvin froze. There he is. You're back. I just thought you was practicing. I thought you was practicing shutting up. That was very well.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Yeah. And it's called awkward silence.
Like it. I like it. And you're right, because that is probably the hardest thing, right, for a sales guy to do, is that awkward silence, because nobody likes silence. Everybody thinks they got to fill that void, and I think you're 100% right. As a sales guy, if you ask the question, the awkward silence is in your favor, right?
Yeah, Randy, there's three things that part of my initial training, I tell people initially, this whole asking and listening, And I use the example where the customer, in every industry gets hit with the price objection. And the customer looks at you, Randy, and says, boy, your price is kind of high. That is not the time to panic and talk.
Right.
That's the time to use wisdom and keep your mouth shut. So you have three opportunities. You initially will use silence. And by the way, if you take the word silent and move those letters around, it spells listen. Or if you take the word listen and move the letters around, it spells the word silent. So start off with listening. Start off with silence first. So the customer looks at you and says, boy, you know what? Your price is kind of high. Don't say a word. Just give them some eye contact. That awkward silence will get them to go on and give you more information about why they feel. Why are they? Because I can't answer that until you tell me why you feel my price is too high. Now, you can't sit there forever. So if they don't elaborate, you have two other options. First option, silence. Second option, ask them a question. How come you feel the price is too high? And then be silent again. Pause. Or you can paraphrase it back, which is the third option. So, Randy, you feel the price is too high. And you pause again. And that pause is their cue to give me more information. Because I can't answer that until you clarify. Dan Gilbert, he always says, nothing clarifies like clarity. Nothing clarifies like clarity. So I need clarity. I can't respond to your price is too high. I can't respond to I want to think about it. I can't respond to I get other quotes. I need clarity. And the best way to do it, again, is you're either asking or you're listening. Or you're listening or you're asking. You're doing those two things in tandem. It's not about this. It's all about this.
And that's brilliant. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you talked about one last thing I want to touch on. If there's something else that you've got too, but is when as a sales guy selling, as you know, I sell material into the metal building industry, metal roofing industry, upholstery industry. My way of doing things, and I changed over the years that I've learned. Used to be I'd rush into a place when I was a brand new young sales guy and say, hi, I'm Randy with ST Fastening Systems, and I sell screws. Well, they don't give a crap if I sell screws yet because they don't even know who the hell Randy is, right?
That's right.
And so that comes up way later in the conversation is, I'm in the industry. They got to know kind of why I'm there, right? But I'm here. I'm a professional. You're a professional. And that's where you roll into I made a note here because I've talked about this before with some folks. Love to get your thoughts on this. I kind of know where it'll be, I think, but I have my rep agency name. I represent manufacturers, but I'm really there as Randy Inc., right? That's Randy Inc. first and foremost.
That's right.
And do you agree with that?
You're absolutely correct. I tell people all the time, people don't buy from companies. They buy from people.
Right.
But the name of the company just got you into the door or on the phone. But they're buying you. I wrote an article years ago, Randy, that basically said you can take a company that's terrible, customer service terrible, quality's terrible, pricing is crazy, but I'll tell you what, if they have a salesperson that asks questions and listens, they'll outsell you all the time. Because it's not the company. They're buying you. They buy you. We had somebody come out to the house because we were looking to do some work during that pandemic situation at home. And the guy went back out to the car to get something. And the first thing my wife said was, I don't like that guy. No, it's not the company. She said, I don't like that guy. And guess what, Randy? We didn't what? We didn't buy. He may have had a great product, but he was terrible. So you're right. It's not the company. It's the guy or the lady.
Exactly. Because I think we all want to love our products, and we do. We all want to believe in our products, which we do, and know all the facts and be able to, as you said earlier, vomit them out all day long and sound impressive. But everything that any of us sell, for example, I sell fasteners as one of my products. I have all these reasons why I think they're better, and I got all these little technical things I can throw out to you if you want to sit and listen to them. and we'll talk about them at some point. But other people sell fasteners that will still hold that roof on, right? And so I don't have that much of a unique thing. If I had the only fastener in America, well, I'd name my price, right? And I wouldn't need to be a sales guy. I'd just be an order taker, right? So you have to get in there. I want to buy my fasteners from this guy, right?
Yeah. Randy, but here's the rub. If you don't know, if you haven't been taught, because I spent a lot of time in this area, if you have not been taught and trained on what questions you should be asking, you will automatically use a presentation as a fail-safe because you don't know where else to go. If you haven't been trained to go in and assess, some companies call it discover, some companies call it needs analysis, some companies call it qualifying, but you got to stay there until you collected all the information that you need. I use the example of going to the doctor's office. That whole time you're there, it's an exam, it's an assessment, it's an evaluation. They don't tell you anything until the very end. It starts when you first walk in. And by the way, that's the only industry where they ask you for payment right up front. Right? Oh, can I have your insurance card, please? Yep. Right? And then they want to make sure, has anything changed since the last time you were here? You could have been there yesterday going to ask you that. And then you go back in the back and they do a height and weight in the hallway. Then they take you inside the room and do your vitals. They haven't told you anything about the doctor at all. You don't know where the doctor graduated and what his expertise in his stuff. They don't do that. It's all about you and finding out what's going on with you. And salespeople, that's our role. It's not about me yet. It's all about you. That's why I said you need that verbal agenda. Let me share with you what I want to accomplish. I really want to find out really what's going on with you. So I always tell people, what's your opening question? Because if you don't take charge, then they take charge. If you don't have that opening question, if you don't do that verbal agenda, then they look at you and say, hey, Randy Owen, where'd the time go? So Randy, tell me about your company and some of the stuff that you do. And before you know it, you take a deep breath, out it comes. And there's something called spare thinking time. And you're using it while I'm talking, Randy. Spare thinking time means that you can think 3 to 5 times faster than what I'm talking. So if I'm not saying anything that's engaging, that's interesting, that's solving something, you start using that time to drift off, shut down, and zone out. That's why you paid me a great compliment where you said, well, normally when someone's talking, if it's not engaging, I may get up and go out in the hallway, make a call, check my emails, send some texts, right? But if that person's engaging, man, you're right. So it's got to be a two-way conversation. You can't have that person sitting there for 20 minutes watching a slideshow, watching a video, watching your pop-up tent thing. You know, this has got to be an equal exchange, more so for them than you. If not, they're going to drift off, shut down, and zone out.
Exactly. And then you've lost them, and you may never get them back.
Tough to get them back once they're gone. Yep. In other words, physically they're in front of you. Waiting. Mentally, they left the building.
Yeah, they left the building. They're just waiting for this thing to be over. And so any strokes of brilliance you got left, it's too late now.
It's too late. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. Beautiful. Well, Marvin, I can tell that we could do this discussion. I can do this discussion for the next 5 hours because I knew you'd bring the fire, buddy.
This is my favorite subject, Randy.
I know it is. And I'll tell you, I'd recommend I've got something else that Wes is going to pop up for me in a minute. He always knows where I'm going. He gets in my head, but there it is. Yes, he scares me. He's in my head. But I will recommend before we go to this, anybody that catches this on replay or whatever, they can get a hold of you at your website. You work with individuals as well as companies, I assume, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Coaching, companies. One of the things that the pandemic has done, I have a program called the Mastering the Sales Essentials. It's a 5 1-hour sessions I do either online or face-to-face, especially for people that are really getting introduced into the right way to build that know, like, and trust. And they can go to my website, or they can even call me directly. I'm old school. Give me a call. The number is 216-509-0281. 216-509-0281. I'm sure it'll be shown on the screen because that's how good Wes is. So I'm sure he's gonna type it in. 216.
That's how good he is.
509.
Put the pressure on.
0281.
Love it. So seldom ask questions. Or maybe I should ask questions. I always forget. Wes always popped it up for him, but he's busy finding your phone number right now. He's trying to make sure we're not sending them to, the Cincinnati Reds or something. Should ask questions. There we go. Thanks, Wes. What have I missed today that you were sitting here going, when's Randy going to shut up and ask me this question? What have we missed today that you would like people to take away from the what's going to make them officially Marvinized? There we go. That's the way I want to ask it. What's the question I didn't ask to get my folks Marvinized?
Well, I think you asked the main one, which is the professional approach to build that know, like, and trust is asking and listening. But I will say one other thing that I stress when I'm working with people, because a lot of times I'm trying to get people to break habits and behaviors. And one of the behaviors that we're taught as soon as we have learned to listen to our parents is we're taught to ask for permission. And one of the areas that I work on in those Mastering the Sales Essentials is effective closing techniques. And if we're not careful, that same behavior goes into our closing strategy. So we'll say things like, would you like to? Do you want me to? Is it okay if I? Is it okay if I give you a call back? Randy, would you like to go ahead and move forward with this? Do you mind if I get this? Or, and when you put yourself in those permission-based situations, you also put the customer in a situation where they have to decide, do I want to do this or don't I want to do this? So you're facing something that is inherent in most people, which is procrastination. So if I say, hey, Randy, do you want me to go ahead and, no, I'll take care. Marvin, is okay? No. So I tell people to be more assumptive, more direct, opposed to asking for permission. And I'll give you a perfect example. One of my most successful engagements early on was with the Girl Scouts back in the 90s. And I used to work with this troop. I worked with the same Girl Scout troop 3 years in a row. In the first year I worked with them, I came up with a program called the ABCs of Selling Cookies: the approach, the benefit, and the close. And what we worked on with these girls mostly was the close, because the approach was good, the benefit was good. But then they would go, Mr. Randy, how many boxes of cookies did you want to? No. They would say, Mr. Randy, would you like to buy some cookies? And all I did was change that to, Mr. Randy, how many boxes of cookies would you like to buy today? It was amazing how they tripled their sales just by saying, how many boxes of cookies would you like to buy, opposed to, would you like to buy some cookies today? Wow. So in closing, one of the biggest things that have really turned people around in a positive way and increased their sales when it comes, because maybe they do a good job engaging the customer. They do a good job with the assessment. They do a good job overcoming objections. They can sell value, not price. And all that, they do a great job. But then it comes to the close and they go, would you like to? Do you want to? Is it okay if I? Do you mind if I? Stop using permission-based closes. Because if you've done everything right up to that point, you don't have to ask. All you're going to do is move forward with the next step.
The assumptive. You hit that word. You use the word assumptive, and I like that.
Yeah, which is being assumptive. Yeah, assume the sale.
Let's do this thing, because at this point, if you're at that point, we spent 40 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever we've done.
Yeah, I know you. You know me. We got the trust. So now I'm going, hey, so Randy, if you don't have any other questions, how many people are going to be we're going to have on Tuesday? I'm assuming we're doing the session. I'm just moving to the wrap-up. What's the wrap-up?
Right. And in the world of materials, of products, it can be as simple as we've talked about. We've got pallet quantities. We've got half truck. We got truck.
Yeah.
Maybe it's as simple as that. Should we get started with a full truck?
Yeah. So, Randy, how would you like this shipped? Because there's 3 ways we can ship this, So, in other words, I know you're going to order. Let's just talk about how we're going to get this out to you.
Right.
Absolutely.
because you put them down that tough scenario where if you built the relationship and they like you, they got to tell you, no, I don't want anything.
That's right.
You don't want to
Don't make it easy for them to procrastinate.
Right. No, you're right, Randy. But you know what? I'm not sure, but once you give me 3 pals to start with, perfect. That's a good spot to start. But you know, since at that point, we've got a sale. We're assuming we have a sale, right? That's the point.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what's the size of the sale, what are we going to ship it, what are the terms going to be, all those things, right? But I love that, because as soon as you start asking permission, I feel like if we've done our job together for the last hour and a half, Marvin, I think we're already decided we're going to do this, haven't we? Right?
Yeah.
That should be our.
So why are you asking? Yeah. Hey, Randy, I'll tell you this real quick. I had a lady call me because we had just did a 1-hour session on effective closing techniques. So she called me, and I thought she was going to tell me about a big sale or something she closed. Because she was saying, hey, Marvin, thank you for that session yesterday. It was so inspirational. I got so much out of it. And then she said, it really helped my son get a date for the prom. I said, what? Yeah, it helped my son get a date for the prom. I said, well, how did I do that? Was he on the call? No, he wasn't in the room. He said, I remember what you said about not asking for permission. And I knew he was going to ask this young lady, do you want to go to the prom with me? And I said, well, what did you tell him to say? I told him to say kind of what you talked about. So he went to her and said, hey, let's go to the prom together. And she said, okay.
Love it. It's
so
all the words,
this stuff
man.
is not just for the business side. You know, we have to learn how to communicate in a way that just makes it pleasant and easy for people to talk with you and make decisions. Don't make it tough for people to decide.
Right. We do a lot of people in business, whatever aspect of business, and I see that in my personal world. If I'm want to buy something, it's like, why are you making it so hard for me to give you some money? Right? It's like, I just want to give you money for something, and you're making it like I don't want to do it anymore because you just made it so hard. Please let me give you money and then hand me what I would like. But it's like people make it incredibly difficult sometimes, don't they?
Yep. Simplify. Ask questions, listen, ask questions. You're doing those 2 things in tandem, and then you provide that solution. It's either yes or not now. It's simple.
It is. It is simple. Waitresses or wait staff, I shouldn't say wait staff, good ones, especially at good restaurants, they're very good at that. They're very good salespeople. They don't. So you thinking dessert tonight? They slide that dessert in your tray, or they bring it out and say, which of these would you like? I really like the pecan pie with ice cream myself, right? Big difference versus you guys thinking ice cream, should I bring the dessert menu? Nah, don't bother. You got the stupid pecan pie in front of me and the chocolate cake and the cherry tort. I'm buying one of them, right? I'm buying one.
My son's girlfriend, Erin, was the top salesperson at the car wash here in Cuyahoga Falls. And the reason why she became the top salesperson, when I heard she was up there, I purposely drove my car through there just to see how she was doing. And she's the person that stands there and talks about the tire shine or upgrading it to the next, right? But everything she would say was permission based. Would you like to? Would you like to? I said, Erin, you can't say, would you like to? Or what should I say? So I gave her like 7 or 8 different renditions on how to engage the person in those extra services. So for the tire shine, you don't say, would you like to get tire shine today? You say, wow, nice car. Let's go ahead and take care of those tires while you're here too. You know, let's take care of those tires.
Yeah.
Why are you asking, would you like to? Yeah, so she was number 1. Just by changing the verbiage.
Yes, that's awesome. Marvin, I appreciate you giving me so much time today. It's been awesome.
My pleasure. This is fun. Thank you, Randy.
Good stuff. And we can never do anything for you. Who knows? We may call back someday and say, let's do another hour someday.
Yeah.
I can do another hour.
Scheduled, Randy, and maybe you're going to be there. You know, they had to reschedule that last building association thing. We're supposed to be down somewhere in Tennessee or something next year.
Yeah, you going to be down?
Yeah.
Yep. Are you speaking there?
Yes.
Nice. I will definitely be there. Yes. Yeah, it's in the first week of January or second week of January. It's in
Yeah, I
January.
think so. January somewhere. So I'm looking
Yes.
forward to it.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll,
we'll connect.
I'll buy you a burger or something.
My pleasure.
All right, my
You're
friend.
on.
All right. Sounds good. Marvin, I appreciate it, my friend. If you want to pop in the green room here in a minute, we'll wrap up and get you out of here in about 5 minutes, if that's okay.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much.
All righty.
All right. There you go, folks. I told you this would be good. Marvin Montgomery. If you are not Marvinized, then you were not listening. The doctor was in the house, and that was some great stuff. I know there's going to be some great sound bites because I could see Wes writing down and making notes. He's got a note on his forehead. I can see it. What's that say? Marvin was brilliant. Yes, I know he was. Anyways, that was an awesome day, and really just I love talking sales. That's my passion. That's what I do, and I've been honored to have a couple of great people in the last 2 weeks talking sales with Ben Gay last week, and now Marvin Montgomery today. Don't get any better than that. But next week we're going to go back. I don't know, old school, if it's the word, but we're going to go back to a more industry-based guest. We're going to talk to Mark Stover, excuse me. He's the president of Permacolumn. It's one of the great products that's come out of the post frame industry in the last several years. And we're going to talk about the industry, where we've been, where we're going, Permacolumn in general. And we're gonna hit the industry next week a little harder. So I think you'll enjoy the conversation with Mark. So until then, remember this: you only get to go around once, so seize the day, right? Seize the day, live it, love it, and own it, and make the day your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Cheers, y'all. Thanks for coming.